Welcome to Lessons Learned. I'm Sherry, and this is Finish It Friday, where we see what I've finished this week and what you have finished as well. So as you can see here, I have the Star of Wonder top finished. That project is over. It was just a short 5-week project through Pat Sloan and also Fat Quarter Shop. And if you want to go get the Star of Wonder pattern sheets and what all, you can go to ilovetomakequilts.com, which is Pat Sloan's website, or you can go to Fat Quarter Shop and find these patterns and videos by Kimberly Jolly for each week and finishing. So I used a whole different line. They were using a Christmas line, and being this was a mystery, as you've seen me struggle along through the weeks, I would not recommend this change in fabric line. The fabric line that they had, it wasn't something I could use, but if you're going to make it, I would stick with their fabric line, because changing this to that pattern was a little bit daunting. And as I said last week, I had to just basically wait until that last week to put the rest of it together, because I didn't know how it was going to go. But I did get my trees all upright, and I was going to use just this gray on here, this gray one. But because of a cutting error of mine, I'm getting out of the frame, I came up short. So I brought back in this one, which is a lighter gray, and it does have the gold trees in it, which I was going to eliminate. But I think it turned out good. And this was the most unusual border. Another complaint, I don't know if you call it a complaint, that I have about this pattern is that, you have an 18-inch piece and then a 14-inch piece. And then once you go down the other side, you're every other on the colors. And that's how they had it too. They actually had it with 4 different prints that you had to figure out where they were placed and get them on here right. And another thing that was a little bit odd, I thought, was they wanted you to have this star configuration here the same as this one as far as prints go, and then this one the same as this one. So that I found that odd. I'm just going to say it. This wasn't my favorite project, but it did turn out pretty. And it definitely is a good winter representation of winter, isn't it? I think probably for a binding, once I get it quilted, I probably will go with something not very framing, because I kind of like the sky just kind of continuing on all the way around. I call it sky. It's not really sky, but that's kind of what I imagine. So I might use another, one of these 2 tree ones to frame it with, instead of like one of the darker blues, or one of the Stonehenge. Stonehenge would work, but I don't think I have enough of that one. Actually, that's the only place I use the Stonehenge, right there. But it coordinates really well with these borders, and it kind of pulls it all together, I think. What do you think? Otherwise, I probably do have enough of this color to bind in if I wanted to not frame it, with a stark color. But I'm thinking maybe one of these. I have enough to do binding for those. Another thing that I finished this week was the last week of the Simply Jelly Roll project that was the Block Wednesday. Or was it the Block Wednesday? This was the Block Wednesday, wasn't it? No, this is the Block Wednesday. The Simply Jelly Roll project that I've been doing out of this Ladybird fabric. This is the last block that we had to do. So now all I have to do is put the rows together, which there are different sizes of sashings that go in each row. And then around that we have a checkerboard border, which I have started on the checkerboard border. I've actually cut all the pieces for it. I just have to sew it up. So probably by next week I may have this together as a full quilt top. I also wanted to show you this. I had this on the board here behind me last week. The changes on this is that I have added the borders, the square borders, in all of the crayon colors, and so that is one thing that I got completely finished this week. This quilt top is finished now that I have this on here, this border on here. So what I'm going to do is just put a black binding on it once it is long armed, and I don't know when that will be. So look for this again in the future after it's been long armed. And then, as I showed you a little bit of on Monday, I had the Not Your Mama's Garden Patio pattern quilt finished, long armed, and I did end up getting that bound. And I have a little short clip here of it outside before the storm started today. So take a look. On this quilt I used Not Your Mama's Garden 1. And I believe the yellowish green sashing borders and all of that was a Bella Solid. I don't remember the name of it. I may not ever have known the name of it, but I want to get in a little bit closer so you can see some of these prints. This is from a couple years ago. And then I also used one of their white backs that they came out with on their Not Your Mama's Garden 2 version. So you won't see this print in this quilt, but a lot of the colors coordinate with that backing. And then I also bound it in that same wide back. I used a petal flower leafy design on the long arm and a really soft lemon yellow, so it doesn't show up a whole lot in the darker prints, but it does give good shadowing in the yellow. So I'm happy to have this one out of my long arm stack. And I bet you heard that thunder. So Blue and I, we need to get in. Okay, so I need to find a pattern to do the number 2 line out of that. Poor Blue, he suffers when it's thundering and lightning and raining hard and wind. He doesn't get along well with all of that. So let's get into some of your finishes here that I received this week. I have a handful here that I can show you, and they're all wonderful. Let's see. Here is one from Carla. She says, I think you posted this when I finished the top 6 months ago. I finally got it quilted by my sweet friend, and it is ready to gift to the birthday girl tomorrow. This was back on 7/25. Cuddle backing with such a lovely print and fun front. She can have it subtle or outspoken. Love your videos and seeing everyone's gorgeous work. Thank you, Carla. Yeah, I kind of sort of remember this. It's beautiful. I love the color combinations of the line there, and with your black and white. I guess it's black and white, could be navy, but it's showing up black and white here, accents on each side, and then she's showing her cuddle backing there in a leaf print. I haven't seen a whole lot of cuddle in prints, but that is adorable. I love that. Yes, that could go either side up, and either way she will have a cuddly quilt. Yes, she will. Beautiful job, Carla. I love it. Here's one from Shannon. She says, I started quilting in October after taking my mom and aunt to Hamilton, Missouri. I was the driver, but I got bit by the quilting bug. I inherited a lot of material from my grandmother and aunt. That was already cut 2.5-inch strips. I think she was planning a log cabin, but I saw a picture of this block on Facebook. I don't remember what it was called, but I just ran with the idea. After all is said and done, I probably have enough strips to make another quilt top. Well, welcome to the quilting world there, Shannon. And it looks like you've gotten off to a great start with this quilt here that you had inherited fabric for. It's very pretty, very fallish, and very vintagey looking as well. I love all the color combinations here, and it's possible she was going to make a log cabin quilt with that, but 2.5-inch strips are a little bit wide for a log cabin, so I don't know. I think you did the fabric justice. This turned out really nice. Great job. You're doing good for being a new one. Here's one from Sue. She says this is a king size. It's called Chained Churns, and this was a sew along with So Much More. I think that's Carolina Moore. I always get that wrong. She says, I added more borders to the sides to be sure to cover the sides. Yeah, it drapes over pretty good. That's really cool. Churn dashes of all sizes, and then those chains make a really interesting pattern. Great job, Sue. And then here's one from Care. She said, just finished a fun class with Krista Moser. It has way too many seams. Y seams. Way too many Y seams. But it was still fun to make. It was a great class. Krista is an awesome instructor. Semaphore stripes is what it's called. Semaphore stripes. She has a picture of the pattern front there. So if you're looking for that, and it looks like you could make this up in just about any sort of color combination, and then have your little black and white or gray and white striped areas in there. Y seams. I had to do a Y seam on this. Once you got all the way around with this border, you had your 4 inches was hanging down, and you had to do a Y seam with it. Not really a Y seam. What is it called? It's called a partial seam is what it is. But I know what you mean by Y seams too. It's similar. Very neat effect that pattern makes there. Here's one from Diane. She says, while house animal sitting, I worked on this top. It's called Opposites Attract by Revelation Quilts. After the first 2 rows, I figured out how to press the seams so they all nest. Used all fabric from my stash. Excellent. This is a nice modern quilt design here. And yeah, doing those seams nested, you can figure out, how the blocks and rows go together nice by nesting those seams. You get pretty accurate with that, and it's easy too. That turned out really cool. I love it. And then Beverly, she has a black and yellow quilt with chickens on it. She says, hi from sunny and hot Florida. She says, I was pleased with how I did on No Buy July. I only bought for a project I was working on, and I did buy kits from each of the 7 Shop Hop stores with the promise I made to each one that I would do show and tell at their next Shop Hop. The employees were excited about that. So yeah, you made a little commitment there. Now you're going to have to deliver, right? And then, so what do we do when we are in a fabric store and keep coming back to the same fabric? We buy it, of course. That's what happened to me last month with this chicken fabric. It made me smile, so I made it into a happy quilt. I think she meant in June. So that is a happy quilt. You got some little bars and stars, you might say, or those stars are friendship stars. And then your yellow chicken fabric in there. That's just adorable. Made up a very cute quilt. Yeah, I do that with clothes, anything. You go into a store and, you see something and you're like, nah, I'm going to buy that. And then it just keeps nagging at you. And then you're like, I've got to go back and get that. Same thing with fabric. And then Dolores has been busy. She has her 2 bow tie quilts. She participated in our bow tie adventure there. we had a few weeks ago, and we may have seen these before she quilted them, but now we see them quilted. And I'm going to try to show both of those black and white ones on the same screen so you can see the difference, because this is a good way to see the difference in that pattern and how you lay it out. The one has the larger white, like octagons, but you can see how the bow ties are around that white area. And then the other one, she has the bow ties on diagonal rows. So same thing. She did both of these in black and white, and she also did black and white polka dots for the back and the bindings of these, and they're just adorable. I think they would make great baby quilts. I think I may have said this the last time she sent them. Babies like black and white. So, you know, somehow it's stimulating to them, and they like to look at it. Her other one is one of the 16 patch scrap quilts using 2.5-inch blocks. And she's got a Free Spirit fabric on the back. This is the same thing that I've been doing, that I just finished my aqua, and now I have my burgundy. She did hers with white. So that's what it would look like if you took all of your scraps and put white in between them. I think it looks very vintagey, and I love the backing from Free Spirit, she said. I don't know, that kind of looks like an Anna Maria Horner fabric to me. I'm not sure, something from the past. But I believe she told me that she got a super deal on that backing at a yard sale. But it's Free Spirit fabric, so that was a good buy there. So that turned out great, and I believe her bed is king size, and it just fits all around the top, and then it's got a little more length to it for the bottom. Beautiful. Makes me want to get my 16 patches out today and play with those. That's always fun. Okay, so that's what we have this week. It was a good little quilt show. Not really long, but we got to see some cool stuff. It's been storming around here. The electricity's been going off and, you know, flicking off. It was off for a couple hours the other day. And that's just what's going on in my part of the woods. What's going on in yours? If you're out west, I bet you would love to have this rain. And I wish you had it. But, yeah, we just deal with whatever we get. That's just the way it is, isn't it? All right, we'll see you back here on Monday. I have something to talk to you about on Monday regarding the Blues Boutique quilt, which is back from Mary the Longarmer. I have to get it bound, and then we'll start talking about our auction and how we're going to promote that. So stay tuned for Monday. If I don't end up talking about that on Monday, I will make that the Wednesday video. I have to think about it some more and figure out if that would make a Wednesday video in all, or, you know, maybe just talking a little bit about it on Monday will do. So come back for those, and then also go back and watch Wednesday's video of this week if you haven't. I made some doodle blocks, and maybe you want to see what that's about and get some of your strips and scraps out and make up some of those fun blocks. All right, have a great weekend. Stay busy in your sewing room, and I'll see you soon. Bye.